Welcome back to another episode of Real Results with Coach Joe. I'm your host, Joe Villegas. This is the program where we help you to improve your health, increase your wealth, and live a more fulfilling life. And I've got an amazing guest here with me today. She's a dear friend and another coach on the personal development path, and that is Linda Eskay. Linda, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so pumped. I know you're going to have like so many nuggets to share with the viewers. It's going to be awesome. Yeah. So I want to get right into it because you've done so much work, not only with others, but with yourself in terms of personal development. And I would love for you to be able to share some of the work that you've done on yourself personally. And let's start there.
Yeah, so what's funny about my journey is it's kind of an accidental journey of happenstances. And so 5.5 years ago, I was a risk analyst for a life insurance company. Right. And I was living in a cubicle, auditing files all day with no human interaction. And I would get excited about going to the bathroom or heating up my lunch so I could maybe run into someone and talk to, have a conversation. But I was under so much stress and I had so much anxiety. I was on multiple medications that still weren't really touching it. Right. And eventually, ultimately, the requirements of the position exceeded my skill set. Sure. So I was laid off 5.5 years ago, and I didn't know what I was going to do after that, but I knew that I didn't want to go back to having a job and being under someone else's control, right? So initially I felt fearful, and by the time I got home, I was just relieved that I never had to go back there again. Yeah. And so again, I didn't know what I was going to do, and I just kind of followed what felt good. Right. Ultimately, a friend introduced me to the law of attraction. And so I started listening to Esther Hicks videos and just really, it was hook, line, and sinker for me. Yeah. But then I got to this place where I felt like this has to be something else. Like I'm missing something because I wasn't able to attract,
or like
manifest. Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, some things were happening, but it felt really good. But anyway, I felt like there was something missing. And then at that point, a mentor came into my life, and I discovered limiting beliefs. And I had never heard that term before. Right. So it blew everything wide open for me. I was like, oh, okay.
That's what's going on.
Go down this rabbit hole. So he ended up offering a facilitator program. And I was very excited to join that and learn the modalities that he was using in his coaching practice with his clients. Cool. And so really, he didn't want us as facilitators to be turned out into the world without doing the work on ourselves first. Yeah. So he was adamant that we clear our own stuff before we start working with clients. Important. Yeah, and so that was exactly what happened. Is we were working with each other around the world on Zoom and practicing, and then I was bringing in people from networking and saying, "Hey, will you practice with me?" And that was great. And a lot of my paying clients after that were people I was practicing with.
That's so
cool.
It
was really working, And I was experiencing shifts on levels that I never could have imagined. Wow. And so it was then that I made that commitment to coach. Yes. I wanted to bring this work to other people. Yeah. Again, I had one of those, there has to be something more. Right. I know there's something more. I knew there was a next level, but I didn't know what that was. Yeah. And that's when I discovered Peter Sage and his work, and it just spoke to me because it was science-backed, which is what I was really looking for. Something that made sense to me, right? And something that we could prove and point to. Yes. So there's evidence. So that's really what it's been about for me. And once I started going through Elite Mentorship Forum, again, just the floodgates opened. And my entire life, this is really powerful, I've always dreamed of world travel and never got to experience any of it.
Even growing up, you weren't traveling?
No, I mean, we traveled around the country, so I've been in like almost every state. We lived in a lot of different places, but I always had this desire for Europe and world travel. I don't know why I felt called to it, but in 2022, in the beginning of 2023 this year, in 14 months, I went to 15 different countries. And yes, Iceland, and I spent the night in Dublin. I went to Croatia. I went to Tenerife in the Canary Islands. And at the time, I didn't even know where the Canary Islands were.
Me either, yeah.
Right? Yeah, so funny. But yeah, it was a year of expansion and growth and discovery and really seeing what I could do and what was possible for me. Right. And so coming back this year has been an explosive year of creation for me, right? Creating programs. I've always had this ability when I'm learning about different things and different modalities of making it click. Right. because I think that's really important for people. They're like, I don't get it, I'm missing something. But if I can paint a picture and say, this is how it works,
Right.
that's what I've discovered has been really powerful for my clients in private practice and also with my group.
Right.
Where they're like, the light bulb moment, oh, there's so much information out there and they don't know what to do and they're overwhelmed and they can't be consistent with their practices. And it's not about being consistent with your meditation and your journaling, it's about being consistent with your thoughts.
Yes.
You know, and that's sometimes very difficult for people to do who are so far down the hole, you know, of despair and scarcity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah,
I mean,
that's my story.
Amazing.
That's right,
so
how I got
really
here.
went from a cubicle, like crunching numbers, doing the analytical thing, to traveling the world and then contributing these skills that you learned to others and help them improve their lives.
Yeah.
Which is what coaching is all about, which is amazing. And it's such a crazy story. And for those watching, Linda and I went through the same program with Peter, the EMF, the Elite Mentorship Forum. And so I feel like the old guy in the room because I went through it a little earlier than most folks, but it's so cool to see the transformation that you've made because I've walked that path too. And be able to see almost kind of in real time, you know, folks would say in our group chat, like, hey, have you met Linda yet? She's doing all this really cool stuff. And I'm like, well, I haven't, you know, we're Facebook
amazing.
friends or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I could see like, okay, she's over in Europe. Okay, now she's over here. And now she's working. I'm like, this is awesome. Like you're really making some waves and disrupting the industry, if it were, you know, to work with folks and help them make those changes. So let's get into that a little bit. So you talk about the topic of limiting beliefs. And I want to dig into that because I know that is just like pervasive. Like people have the limiting beliefs and sometimes they don't even know they have them, but they just think it's unconscious, subconscious programming that they're running on, you know, like matrix programming. If someone's out there and they're saying, you know, this is just how I was raised. This is the life that I live. This is where I grew up. You know, I can't make more than X amount or whatever. You know, what are some steps folks can take to really bring their dreams into reality by jumping over these limiting beliefs or just crushing them completely?
Yeah, and I think it's a myth to say that you can crush them all completely. And it's frustrating when people hear you can be, do, have whatever you want.
Yeah.
Because they feel like they can't, and it's only for the lucky few. Or and what we have to understand is that everybody's at a different place on their journey. They're at a different place on the continuum of personal development work.
Yes.
And we all have unique stories,
Right.
unique programming, unique model of the world, unique belief system, right? Even twins, siblings growing up in the same house are going to have different experiences once they, you know, go to school. And so it's important to help people understand that there are layers. And what's interesting about what I've discovered, and I only know one other person, her name is Kate Northrup, who I've discovered recently, who's teaching this way, that we have to understand the programming first. You can't start changing behaviors and expect long-term shifts in your life. Because our brains don't work that way. If your belief system doesn't align with your behavior, it's going to revert back to the old behavior because your brain is like,
that's all it's got.
It's not comfortable and familiar, right? So where we grow up, how we grow up, what we experience, what does love look like? What are the conversations about money? This becomes our programming and it becomes our default thermostat.
Yes.
And we can have a lot of different thermostats, but the way thermostats work, they are regulators, right? So when we get hot, we sweat. When we get cold, we shiver. We can't control those functions. They just automatically happen. And it's part of the homeostasis that happens in nature. So everything has to balance. And so going back to it, I think it's really important that people not beat themselves up. Right? Because what I desired, what I wanted for my life, world travel at that time, when I started clearing the resistance away, the travel happened. And there are a lot of different stories. People who know me well and are in my coaching, they know these magical stories that happen about how these things came about. But the point is, I don't want to teach you how to manifest travel unless that's what you want. Right? So everybody has unique desires, and then they have unique layers of why they think they can't have it. And nobody knows they have limiting beliefs until they find out that they do.
Until they uncover them.
They're like, oh, okay, I see where the unworthiness is coming from, right? So,
but you have to start there. You have to identify like what it is, what's going on, and then work with, around, on it to begin to make these jumps that you're talking about. So let's say someone comes to you and they say, Linda, I loved your episode with Joe. Joe's all right, he's fine, but I want to work with you. Where do we begin? Like, how do we begin? Like, if you're going to take someone from step 0 and get them doing the work, where do you usually start with folks? How do you help them?
So in a discovery call, so human beings run on similar patterns,
Yes.
right? So I can tell within minutes where somebody is probably getting stuck or
Gotcha.
tripping up,
Okay.
you know? So if they say, well, I just want to be happy. Well, what does that mean for you? What does that look like, right? And understanding from their perspective, what was their story like? What do they want to achieve? What state do they want? Right? And you know what's interesting is I try to help people understand it's not about the stuff.
Yeah.
It's not about the things.
Right.
It never is. And when you tune into the stuff and the things, you're actually creating more resistance to achieving those goals because you're focusing on the fact that you don't have them.
Exactly.
Yet.
You're sitting in lack.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you can just tune into frequencies of joy and love and abundance and bliss and peace, then let the universe, let your reticular activating system, if you will, align you with things that make sense to you when you think about joy and peace and abundance.
Yes. No,
Because
I
it's
love
different
that.
for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I think too, what helped me a lot was thinking of the stuff as a means to an end. So like, why do you want more money? Is it because you want more security? Then you're really after the security. You're not after money per se. It's a feeling of more certainty and security. Maybe you want more money because you want to travel the world and have more adventure. Well, adventure is really what you want. You don't need to be a billionaire to have an adventure, right? You could go down the street, meet some new people, and have an adventure.
Right.
So it's really kind of focusing on, at the core, like, what are you really after? And then what I think is really beautiful, like in this amazing life we live in, is you don't get to just write out exactly how it's going to play out. The world, the universe will bring you circumstances that align with these things you want. And if you're open to it, you can have this whole adventure of getting to that feeling, that security or adventure, whatever you want, based on letting yourself open up and experiencing the world. It doesn't need to be so cut and dry, black and white the whole way through, which I'm sure you've seen plenty of that on your own journey. I know I've seen it on mine where it's like, wow, I never could have predicted how this is going to play out, but I'm sitting in this feeling that I wanted, and it's beyond what I could have imagined, just because I relaxed a little bit and opened up to it.
So here's a really good example of that.
Yeah.
When I went to Croatia and I was on the Masters of Destiny cruise with Peter.
Yeah.
So for those watching, it was about 25 of his students, a cruise that he does every year. And he does workshops in the morning, and then we have excursions and activities. And so we're all having fun and getting to know each other and just enjoying the beautiful country. And I remember so many times standing on the deck of the ship and looking out, and I almost couldn't believe my eyes because I was trying to wrap my head around what I was seeing. The history, the beauty, it gives me chills in this moment.
I'm getting chills.
Yeah, I mean, it was
about it.
absolutely incredible. And it was so much more than I had envisioned when I thought about visiting Europe.
Right.
Croatia, I never would have even thought about going to Croatia.
Couldn't point it out on a map. I don't even know where it is.
I know, right? So it was just magical. And I remember taking it in and feeling like, wow. And I was so grateful, so grateful. And then about 2 days before the cruise ended, I had already booked a hotel stay in Dubrovnik for a few nights. And so did some other people because we wanted to explore Dubrovnik. And I got an email from the hotel saying that they had a last minute cancellation in their sister boutique hotel. Would I like a complimentary upgrade to that hotel?
Why, yes,
instead?
I would, yeah.
I was like, I said, I responded back, oh, this is so amazing. By chance, does it have a sea view?
Right.
And they said, yes, Mrs. Eskay, it has a sea view, and we will have a car at the port to pick you up on Saturday. And I was like, oh my God. I remember looking around at everybody sitting on the back deck, checking their phones and email on break, right? And just thinking, this is not happening.
Yeah.
Is it like I was waiting for, I don't know, it was very strange, but this hotel was something out of a fairy tale.
I remember seeing the pictures of it and going, holy smokes, it looks
I had my own daybed
Yeah.
on the porch of my suite,
right.
overlooking the Adirondack. Like all the rooms were sea views, and they were all stacked up this cliff. There's only 16 rooms.
Unbelievable.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
I was having Prosecco,
Yeah, right.
and shrimp, and it was delightful.
Yeah.
But it dawned on me, that's what I mean. You don't have to try to manifest anything.
Right.
When you sit in gratitude and appreciation and love and just feel what that feels like,
Yeah.
let the universe line things up
Right.
for you that makes sense to you.
Right. It's almost like just get out of your own way, basically.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. No, I love it. And
Yeah.
so I love where this conversation is going, and we're going to continue it, but I know the time moves fast. So
It does.
we're going to come back to continue chatting here with Linda after this break from our sponsors. Hey, it's Coach Joe here, and I want to thank you for checking out this episode of Real Results. Since becoming a coach over a decade ago and getting to help tons of people make incredible transformations, I've made it my mission to find the most effective tools to help people change their health and ultimately their life. As a thank you for watching this episode, I've created a series of free mini courses, downloads, and resources that you can use to create real change in your life. Simply click the link in the description or head over to www.resultswithjoe.com and click on the free resources tab. All you have to do is sign up using your best email address, and you'll have access to all the resources straight away so you can start to create real change in your life. I look forward to seeing you on the inside, and let's enjoy the rest of this episode. Welcome back to Real Results. With me again today, I've got Linda Eskay, and Linda and I were just having this amazing conversation about this transformation that you've made in your life, going from working in a cubicle to literally traveling the world, having your own beachfront villa in Croatia, which was just amazing. And so for folks watching, they might say, yeah, Linda, that's nice, I'm happy for you. I want to make a change in my life. Maybe they're not happy where they're sitting right now. They're at point A, they want to get to B. How do you work with folks to help them begin to make that change and really design a life that they love and they enjoy and get to have fun adventures like you're talking about?
Yeah, so again, it's all about the individual, and what it is that they desire.
Yes.
So it's about creating a vision for, you take fear of failure, money, everything out of the equation, because at the end of the day, it's not about any of that.
Right.
It's about what do you want? What does your dream life look like? Where do you live? What do you wear? What are you driving? What kind of home do you live in? What are you doing to earn income? Money, like everything. And then, help them get clear on what they believe is holding them back.
Yes.
So it's a very powerful exercise. Create a life in your vision, a vision of your life that you want.
Right.
Now you need to list all the reasons why you think you can't have it.
Can't have it.
Can't have it.
Wow.
Because those are the things keeping them stuck.
Right.
Now, most people will say, I don't have the money. That's usually one.
Right.
I say, okay, that's fine. Like, we're going to kick money out of the equation because it doesn't exist here.
Yeah.
And so we get really clear on what they believe. And that's really powerful. And then I bring in, going back to the science of it, it's not all about attraction. Now, we obviously don't know the truth, but when we find the things that work, we tend to stick with them.
Yeah.
That's what I've done. I'm like, I have this formula, it just works. So
It ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
For sure.
I don't know how gravity works. I just know that I don't fly off the planet.
Thankfully,
Right?
right.
So it's a leap of faith. It's trust. It's understanding the science. So when I understood that it's our reticular activating system, this part of our brain that's responsible for awareness, alertness, awakeness, is deciding what data from the infinite field of possibilities, the quantum field, what data is filtering in to us.
Right.
And it's all based on what we believe.
Yes.
And what makes sense. Otherwise, the universe isn't going to give us anything in life that doesn't make sense to us. That would be chaos in the field, right?
Right,
in
right.
the force.
It'd be crazy, yeah.
So I help people get really clear, and then we say, okay, that's fine. This is why you believe you can't have it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to set intentions. You're going to make declarations. You're going to think about decisions that you want to make that line up with your vision that you've created.
Yep.
So what this does on a neuroscience level is very powerful.
Yeah, yeah.
It changes the reticular activating system because now you've put something in your belief system that's important to you, that matters. Right. So this is kind of the place where people say the universe starts lining things up for you. Yes, right? Opportunities. I mean, I'm sitting here.
Right, yeah.
Opportunities come, people show up in your life, money comes, like whatever you need to get you there will show up for you.
Yep.
But it's because it's always been there in
Right.
the field.
Exactly.
It just didn't matter to you. You didn't make it important by setting intentions and making decisions, and right?
Right.
So now it's like, oh, okay. The third thing that I help people do, and this is the biggest one for people,
Yeah,
is letting go
please.
of the how. Have to stop
So
trying
important.
to figure things out.
Right.
Right? As soon as you try to figure something out based on your own experiences, your education,
Yes.
your life,
Right.
you pinch off every other possibility
Right.
out there that's available to you.
Yeah.
And this phase is all about control issues. So we learn as children control, right? We can control our grades if we study. If we don't and we get in trouble, we can control our parents, right? And kids who aren't getting positive attention will go for negative attention.
Right.
So it's control, right? And then as adults, or even as children, we can have a traumatic event that pulls the rug out from under us, shakes
Right.
up the snow globe. And we as kids don't know how to process that.
Right.
But it's a realization that you're just skipping along through life and you absolutely have no control over what happens to you. Right? So we feel like as adults, well, if I just can control everything, then I know the outcome and I know what I'm going to get. And it's not true. It's a myth, right?
Right.
So it's so powerful for people to be able to let go of trying to figure it out.
Yes.
And allow things to happen, as you said earlier, the way they're supposed to for you.
Right.
And then the fourth piece is taking inspired action. When you get yourself to a place of alignment and a place of peace and a place of calm, you absolutely will get ideas, inspiration.
Right.
You will. And it's about taking action. So somebody presents you with an opportunity. On your hero's journey, you have the option to say yes or no to
Right,
that.
right.
A lot of people will say no because they're afraid.
They're afraid.
Or they don't think it's possible for them.
Or they don't feel worthy.
Or they, yeah,
right.
but it's about, oh, this came up for a reason. I need to do this, or
Yes.
go there, or call this person, or go, whatever it is. You take the inspired action when it comes. And then the fifth piece is all about belief and expectation. If we don't believe and expect that what we desire and what we want, not necessarily in the way, we think it's going to happen, but
Sure.
we have to believe and expect that it's coming.
Yes.
And if we don't have that, it doesn't matter all the work you just did above,
Right.
The whole thing crumbles.
Right.
So it's a formula. You don't necessarily have to do them 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's all part of the package, you
Right.
know. And then get to the bottom and say, do you believe that you can have this?
Yeah. I think that's.
Well, no.
Yeah. Like.
All right, you just toppled the whole thing, right?
Yeah. It's all.
The
all
whole
that
tower.
work is out.
Yeah.
out,
So that's really as a high level, how I work with people, and at each phase, helping them get really clear on what they believe
Yes.
is holding them back and preventing them from moving forward, because those limiting beliefs are all lies.
Right. It's just all things that you've pulled into your experience or you have experienced, but they may not even apply to your life anymore. It's something you picked up when you were 5 years old, it's just sitting in your brain. We need to, start to freshen things up a little bit, if you will. So, two things I want to touch on. One is this belief thing of expecting that the outcome is on its way, which is something that, like, I made a big shift with that, and it changed my life. Going from, like, typical, people might say, oh, I wish I had $1 million. What you're really saying is, I don't have $1 million, and I'd like to have it. You're saying, look, I'm going to be a millionaire. I don't have it right now. The money's there somewhere. Someone's holding it for me,
Right.
but it's on its way.
Right.
That is a much more empowering place to live from and to see your vision than to act in lack, basically, right? So that's one I want to make sure folks kind of take home with them. So take that home, everybody. But the other piece is I want to come back to step one, because I know we don't have a ton of time left. So kind of real quick with the minutes that we have is let's walk through with folks quickly how they can create their vision, because they have to start there. They're at point A. They need to know what point B looks like in detail. It's not like, oh, I want to be rich and famous. Okay, what does that mean? So can you walk us through maybe a couple quick steps of how folks can begin to build their vision and start this path?
Well, it's really important to understand that the emotional piece, the emotional component, has to be part of the visualization.
Okay.
You cannot manifest without it.
Right.
So music is very powerful.
Yes.
Pictures are powerful. Video is more powerful.
Yes.
So for example, so I do vision board workshops, and there's a lot of different components. But if you slap a bunch of pictures on the refrigerator, eventually you're just walking by them, they're like sticky notes on your
Right.
desktop, right?
Right.
Your brain is now used to it, so it's not paying attention anymore, and it's looking for new data.
Right.
So it's about regularly tuning into what it is you want.
Right.
So the cruise in Croatia, when I found out about it, I found somehow I got the promotional video that Peter and his team had put together, and I just kept watching it.
Right.
Now, when I watched it, like I can hear it get
Yeah,
chills.
yeah, yeah.
I can hear
It
the
brings you
music
right
at the
back to
beginning
it.
at that. Yes,
Yeah.
and I literally, my husband was like, "What?"
Yeah, right.
I literally would be moved to tears every time I watched it because I knew that I had to be there.
Right. Right.
It was that powerful.
It's amazing.
And then each time I needed the money to put down the deposit, to make another payment, to pay for the hotel, to whatever, you know, it was a $10,000 trip all told. And if I had known that going in, that alone would have scared
Would've
me.
backed
And
you out.
yeah,
Yeah.
like backed me out. And I didn't think about it. I just kept saying, okay, universe, I trust you. This is what I want. I need to be there. I know that I have to experience this.
Right, right.
I'm excited to see how you're going to bring it to me.
Yeah.
So it's really powerful to help people build that.
Right. Build
So
that
that's
vision
what
with the emotion.
What's the emotion you're seeking?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're all illusions.
Yeah.
Really.
Right.
We're 99.999 energy, which means we're just vibrating air.
Right.
Right? This is an illusion. You're an
Right.
illusion. And so if we can stay in that energy of we are mostly vibrational frequencies, what do you want to create? You can create anything from that state.
That possibilities are infinite.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. And so getting out of your head is about getting out of being a physical human being
Yeah.
and just believing in magic.
I think that is mic drop, perfect place to wrap up for today. I love that so much. So for everybody watching, Linda, how can folks get in touch with you if they want to work with you, learn more about the work that you're doing, and begin to manifest magic in their life?
Yeah, so a lot of different ways depending on, you know, where you like to hang out. I'm on LinkedIn under Linda Eskay, and Facebook, Linda Eskay, lindaeskay.com, Instagram, Linda Eskay. So, you know, I'm easy to find. If you Google Linda Eskay, you will see all things me.
Perfect.
You know,
and I'll be reposting stuff too, so folks can find you nice and easy as well to get a
Nice.
hold of you and check you out. But thank you for coming on the show today. Such a pleasure.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine.
I could talk for hours.
Yes, I know we could. Unfortunately, we don't have that much time, but it was really a great time. So thank you.
Yeah.
And for all you watching, we'll catch you on the next episode of Real Results.